Hi everyone, I hope you're doing well. This is a very special day for me. Well, the day that I'm uploading this video is Sunday, but I'm recording this voiceover on March 5th, which is the 10-year anniversary of my small business, TheCoffeeMonsterzCO. And I think this video is just going to be me reflecting on the past 10 years, share some of the things that I've learned, maybe some fun stories, stuff like that. I am in the aftermath of about a week and a half of being sick, so my voice might sound a little bit strange still, but I do hope you enjoy the video. The first topic is a question that I get asked pretty frequently, and it is something that I've been pondering myself lately, and it is what makes a business successful. So I think there are two parts to it. One part are the things that are outside of your control, and one part of it are things that are within your control. So for things that are outside of your control, it would be things like your luck. You just start your business and a celebrity happens to stumble across it and give you a shout out. You can kind of use this momentum and expand your business. Another thing that is kind of outside of your control is the resources that you have available. So an extreme example would be like parents giving you $1 million to start your business. But it can also look like knowing that if you fail at your business, you still have family who can give you a place to live. So yeah, everyone has, different levels of resources available to them. And for things that are within your control, that would be like how hard you work, how you treat your customers, how good your product is, and like the quality of your product. So yes, I think it's ideal to have all of these things. If you have the resources, you have the luck, you have a great product, and you also work really hard, then I think this business would have a really good chance of succeeding. However, if you're lacking in one of those areas, or maybe even two of those areas, you can still make it work. It just might be a little bit harder. So in my case, and the case of TheCoffeeMonsterzCO, I feel like I had a lot of luck. I did work really hard, and I am also really proud of the products that we have. I was lacking in the resources department, but you can kind of work your way around it. So I've told this story before, but because I just basically didn't have any money, what I did was I sold an ebook of my doodles and used the funds from that to start up my actual physical stationery shop. And it definitely would have been easier, and maybe I would have been able to start my store earlier if I just had like $300 to buy a printer, cutter, and a stack of paper. But it is what it is, and I was a little bit scrappy, but I eventually got to the point where I could buy all of the materials. And because I recognize that luck is one of the things that really contributed to how successful my business has been, I'm always conscious of this, and I know that as quickly as luck came, it can also just go away. And so that is why I think I really focus a lot on the things that I can control. So how hard I work and the products that I put out. Another thing that I have learned, which is kind of ironic, is to not plan so much. It's ironic given that I'm in the planner industry and I make stickers for planners, and this entire channel is dedicated to planning. But yes, I definitely think it is important to have a plan, have backup plans, know the general direction that you're headed, but at the same time, I think it's really important that you're not hiding behind the safety of planning. If you're just sitting behind a computer typing out your plan, that is very safe because you are not actually doing the actions that are risky. I think this can apply in many different situations. For example, you have a best friend who did something that you didn't like and you want to have a hard conversation with them. It's scary to just go up to them and have this hard conversation. So instead, what you might do is put off having this conversation with your friend and instead plan out everything that you want to talk about. And in your head, you might tell yourself that what you're doing is good because you are preparing yourself. But if you were to be honest with yourself, you might realize that you were kind of using the idea of writing up a plan to kind of protect yourself from actually doing the hard thing. I really hope that makes sense. So yeah, this is something that I have learned, especially for running this small business. Also, something else that I see is like new small business owners spending a lot of money on pretty furniture, pretty decorations for their office, having the latest machines or the perfect shelving, stuff like that. I definitely don't discourage that. I think if you have a nice work environment, it's a really good way to motivate yourself. At the same time though, just like be careful not to let the idea of like, I can't start actually working until my office is perfect, or I can only start this business if I have like the latest machines. Number one, this might kind of confound your judgment about like whether this is something that you actually need or whether you are just kind of iffy and scared to actually get started with the work. And number two, it can be pretty costly. So sometimes it might be best to just get started with what you have and kind of upgrade things as you go. This will, however, definitely depend on like the industry you're in or whatever project that you're working on. I'm just checking my list. Okay, the third topic that I want to talk about is about trends. As with many things in life, I think it is all about finding a balance when it comes to things that are trendy. I definitely think one can swing too far to either side. So some businesses, they follow all of the latest trends. Like if a TV show blows up on TikTok, then they might create stickers for that TV show. Or it's a little bit hard to talk about because I don't want to give specific pop culture trends as examples because it might like offend someone. But anyways, just like think of something that went viral and imagine that a business just like hops on every single trend. It might really help them kind of ride the wave and gain a lot of momentum, but I do think that there are some cons to that. I feel like you kind of end up losing a little bit of your identity outside of the trends. It might not seem very genuine, and you might also eventually come off kind of commercial. Another con is that it's probably going to be very tiring to always try to keep up with everything and kind of stay on the internet all the time to find out what is trending. On the other hand, I do think that there is a little bit of responsibility. I don't know if responsibility is a fitting word, but anyways, I do think that you kind of have to be somewhat in the know and be aware of what's generally going on. And if there happens to be a trend that you personally really like, then maybe you can kind of work that into your business and gain something from the momentum. As an example for me, a lot of my store is related to the Hobonichi planners. I feel like in the past 6 or 7 years, it has been a pretty trendy product. I mean, Hobonichi has been around for a very long time and they have always been really popular, but I just think in the past like 6 or 7 years, they have really blown up. And yeah, a lot of my store is dedicated to the Hobonichi planners, and of course, I'm using one right now. So I guess in that sense, I am participating in this trend, and I do benefit from it because a lot of people are shopping for Hobonichi stickers and they go to my store. However, I didn't start selling Hobonichi stickers in order to hop on this trend. Maybe 6 years ago, I bought a Hobonichi planner for me to use personally, and I fell in love with it. And I started making stickers for my own Hobonichi, and eventually I started selling them, and as the popularity grew, I just added more and more, and now we are here. Similarly, for like the app TikTok, I downloaded it just to browse personally, and I had a lot of fun, I guess kind of doom scrolling, and so I started making TikTok videos. I didn't really think, okay, TikTok's popular now, so I need to like hop on this trend. Anyways, I think this is just kind of my way of deciding on which trends I follow and I don't follow. I try to stay true to my values and the things that I like so that I'm not like faking things and eventually getting burnt out from that. Another thing that I think is really important is the distinction between being personal and open with your customers versus being professional. I think I recently talked about this in a blog post, so I do apologize if it's a little bit repetitive. But basically, when it comes to my business, I feel like I have two personas. One persona is what you see through my YouTube videos, comments, Instagram, Facebook group, and TikTok. Like, I'm using a lot of emojis. Sometimes I'm sarcastic. I joke around with people, and I basically talk with people similar to how I would talk with my friends. However, I also have a business persona where, if you were to send me an email to my business email, I'm definitely, hopefully, still friendly and open, but I reply properly in full sentences, and I'm a lot more professional. So like in a YouTube video or in an Instagram post, I might say that I am having a terrible day and I'm sick. That is something that if I can help it, I won't bring over to my business persona. I don't expect customers who buy from my business to have to understand that I am sick. So that is why their order is delayed, or that my Wi-Fi is running into issues, which actually it currently is. But yeah, like if my Wi-Fi is running into issues and I mention that in a YouTube video, I don't expect people who shop at my store to know or care about that. So yes, apart from rare cases, I don't let my personal life situation affect my business. So if I promise customers that orders are going to go out within 10 days, then it's going to go out within 10 days. And I think this has been really important for building trust with my customers. There are situations that are completely outside of my control, like maybe we get a snowstorm. One time a hole formed in the ceiling of our office and water started dripping out, which was not fun. The tariff situation, obviously, a small business in Canada, cannot really do anything about that. But yeah, I think customers know that apart from these situations that are completely outside of my control, they can trust that their orders will always be fulfilled predictably. When these unfortunate things do come up, customers are a lot more understanding. Oh, now that I brought up having a hole in our office ceiling, another topic just came to mind. I think that as a small business, and honestly just like in general, there's always going to be some challenge or something going wrong. And more often, it's going to be numerous challenges at the same time. And I think something that really helps reassure me that I can get through this difficult period is that I have gone through many difficult periods in the past, and I have always adapted. I think that there are very few situations that are impossible to work through, and for most challenges, you will look back on it and you will probably barely remember what happened or how you felt at the time. But in the present, it'll seem just impossible and maybe like the end of the world. Okay, I've been sitting here for like 5 minutes trying to decide whether I should talk about this. Maybe I'll edit it out. I will see how I feel later. But I'm just gonna put a little trigger warning over here and also put the timestamp to where you can skip forward to. In my second year, I believe, of university, I went through a pretty dark period of my life. I had quote-unquote thoughts, if you know what I mean. And it actually kind of shook me recently because I was going through some old documents and I found an outline of like instructions for my friends and family and what to do with TCMC in my absence. Hopefully you can kind of guess what I'm hinting at. So yes, that was a very dark period, and I think the main reason behind it, if I recall correctly, was there was something going on related to TheCoffeeMonsterzCO. I'm not going to go into details about it, but it was something business related, and I just felt like I could not get through this challenge, and I thought it was the end of the world, and there was no way out of it. And now that I'm a little bit older and I'm thinking back to that, I think it is because I was still rather new in the business world and I was still rather young. And at that point, I hadn't really gone through any big business challenges. And so because I didn't have a history of like being able to overcome these challenges, I just thought that it was impossible. However, nowadays when, challenges come up, even though I still panic a little bit and I get distressed, I can look back at the past 10 years in which I have overcome so many challenges, like Canada Post strikes and the tariff situation, issues with production, shipping, etc. And I can basically prove to myself that there is a very, very, very high chance that I will be able to get through this as well. And again, I think this can really apply outside of business and just in general life situations as well. To kind of lighten the mood a little bit, I will share one of the things that I just completely forgot about until yesterday. So I started TheCoffeeMonsterzCO on Etsy, and I only opened my website a few years after that. Before, I think a good 8 years, I had been operating both an Etsy store and a Shopify store. And when I opened my Etsy store, I was still a minor. I was 15. So to comply with Etsy guidelines, my mom opened the account under her name. So a few years later, Etsy asked for a verification of my identity. And I could have just asked my mom to verify her identity, but I was like, okay, I'm no longer minor and this store is technically mine, so might as well just change the owner and I can verify that I'm a real person. So yes, I requested for a change in ownership or a change in name. However, I made a typo in my last name. So instead of writing Wang, W-A-N-G, I wrote W-A-G-N. And so after that was confirmed, I could no longer verify my identity because my ID obviously has Wang, W-A-N-G. And I guess Etsy's verification system automatically detects the characters and it didn't match. I emailed them multiple times and they wouldn't allow me to change my name again. And so because Etsy couldn't verify my ID, my Etsy store got closed. And I'm telling this story because thinking back to it, I think it is just the funniest thing ever and so ridiculous. But at the time, I really thought it was such a big deal, and I thought my sales would plummet because I wouldn't have Etsy's marketplace exposure, stuff like that. I mean, it would be ideal if I still had my Etsy account because I do know that it might be more convenient for some international customers, but I again just wanted to tell this story because this thing that seemed like the biggest deal at the time just is a funny story to me now. All right, and I think the last thing that I will quickly talk about is work-life balance, which if you are a regular viewer of my channel, you probably know that I don't have this figured out just yet. However, I'm definitely trying. It is unfortunate that I'm only actually trying because I went through some health issues last year and into this year that kind of affected my work, and I realized that I do need to take care of myself because otherwise I cannot design, I cannot reply to customers, etc. And it is really true that you do need to take care of yourself because otherwise you won't be able to take care of others and do your best work. And I think most people do already know that, and I knew that as well. However, I also do feel like many people feel like they are the unicorn and they are the exception, because I also definitely felt this way. Like, I already knew the whole you need to fill your own cup thing, but I just thought to myself, I am the exception, I am really resilient, and I don't need to listen to this advice. But of course, at some point, it caught up to me, and that is when I kind of got the reality check that I am really not the exception. So yeah, I guess I just wanted to mention this because I do often get asked, how I'm able to be so productive and what is my secret, but I also want to share that there is a unglamorous side to it, and now I'm kind of dealing with the consequences and I'm really trying to take care of myself now. It is definitely a lot better to prevent these things from happening, preventing burnout or preventing health issues. I think it is better to do that than take the gamble and retroactively try to fix whatever health issues that come up. But it is also difficult because the preventative measures you're taking now, you don't really see the benefits of that. Okay, I think this video is getting a little bit too long, and I feel like I'm being a little bit preachy, which I don't really like. Hopefully I don't come across this way. I'm just kind of unloading whatever thoughts pop into my head. And I definitely don't think I have it all figured out and everything I'm saying is correct. I'm just like a single data point. But I do think I learned some things in the past 10 years. Anyways, thank you for listening and watching. I appreciate your time and support. And just as a little celebration thing, either in the description or in the comments, a pinned comment, I will put the details of a giveaway. I'm going to be giving away a TWSBI fountain pen and a few other goodies across my social medias. So yeah, I do have one reserved for my YouTube subscribers as well. All right, thank you so much again for your time and for your support in the past however many years you have been watching. I truly appreciate you, and I hope you take care, and goodbye.